Alright, so today we will be starting with the topic urinary pharmacology, and there are various classes of drugs or various types of drugs which act on urinary system of animals, but the most important ones are diuretics. Okay? This is the most important class of drugs which act on urinary system. Okay, so we will discuss in diuretics, and let's start. Okay, so diuretics. So diuretics can be defined in two ways. Actually, it can be defined in two ways. Okay, so if we try to understand the basic definition of diuretics, that is the drugs which increase the volume of urine produced. Very simple. So drugs which increase the volume of urine produced by the body of animal. Okay, by the kidney. Okay, that is one way to define diuretics. Okay, so what is the other way to define diuretics? The other way to define diuretics is diuretics are the drugs which causes natriuresis. Okay, drugs which causes natriuresis and also the loss of HCO3 minus and Cl minus. Okay, so these are two definitions of diuretics. So if you try to understand this definition, obviously this one is looking more scientific as compared to this. This is also correct. This is also correct. So drugs which causes natriuresis and also the loss of bicarbonate and chloride ions. So the point arises here is what is natriuresis? So natriuresis, that is loss of sodium ions. Okay, natriuresis, that is loss of sodium ions. Okay, so this is what natriuresis is. Okay, so in a nutshell we can say the drugs which causes natriuresis and a loss of HCO3 and chloride ions, and thus increases the loss of water release, and thus the volume of urine produced is called diuretics. Okay, alright, so now we will start with the classification of diuretics. Okay, so let me just erase this and then we will start with classification of diuretics. Alright, let's start with classification of diuretics. Classification of diuretics. Okay, classification of diuretics. So we talk about diuretics, and they can be divided into four classes. Okay, diuretics can be divided into four classes. So let me wait. I think this is visible in the camera. Yeah, this is visible. So diuretics can be divided into four classes. First is called high efficacy diuretics. High efficacy. Second are moderate efficacy. Third are low efficacy or adjunctive efficacy. And fourth are last type of diuretics are miscellaneous. Okay, so these are the four different classes of diuretics. So miscellaneous drugs, obviously you don't need to understand the mechanism of action of miscellaneous drugs, so we'll just name the miscellaneous drugs found here. So the miscellaneous drugs found here are, for example, aminophylline, which we read about in respiratory pharmacology. We got theophylline and some similar other drugs. Then we have got etamivan, I'm not sure about this. Etamiphylline, I'm really sorry for that. Etamiphylline. Then you have got conivaptan. Then we have got tolvaptan, and lastly you have got mozavaptan. Okay, so these are the various types of miscellaneous drugs which are found in miscellaneous drugs which acts as diuretic as well. So now we'll start with this high efficacy diuretics. Okay, we'll start with high efficacy diuretics. So let's start. High efficacy is further divided into two subclasses. We can call it like that. So these are called loop or high ceiling diuretics. This is the first class, and second class is called, okay, so this is not visible in the camera, so let me just Okay, I think yeah, now it is visible. So loop or high ceiling diuretics, and second we have got mercurial diuretics. Okay? Mercurial diuretics. So mercurial diuretics only include one drug, that is macrocell. Okay, and it includes two drugs, that is furosemide and bumetanide. Okay, so furosemide and bumetanide. So these are two drugs in loop or high ceiling diuretics. Now moderate efficacy. Moderate efficacy include thiazide and thiazide-like drugs. So thiazide-like drugs. Okay, so it includes, for example, polythiazide. Then it also includes drugs like chlorothiazide. Then also include drugs like hydrochlorothiazide. Hydrochlorothiazide. Okay, so these are drugs which are found in moderate efficacy diuretics. Now we'll talk about adjunctive low efficacy diuretics. So there is space is less. Okay, so let me write it here. So adjunctive or low efficacy diuretics, this include three classes. Okay, I want to fit everything in here so that it is much clear, much more visible, much more easy to understand. Okay, so we will erase this no matter what. We will erase this miscellaneous drugs. Okay, alright. So adjunctive, so these include three further subclasses, that is osmotic diuretic. Then it also included drugs like potassium sparing diuretics, and then it also included drugs like carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Okay, so these are drugs subclasses which are found within low or adjunctive efficacy diuretics. So osmotic diuretics include drugs like glycerin, then sorbitol, then mannitol. Okay, so we have got drugs like glycerin, sorbitol, mannitol. Then we have got, in potassium sparing diuretics, we have got amiloride. Okay, and then in carbonic anhydrase inhibitor we have got drugs like I actually forgot, because I am not looking at any notes or any book, so I actually forgot the drugs of carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. Methazolamide. Okay, so I will remember one drug, so we can just learn one drug. Okay, so this is a classification of diuretics. Okay, alright, now let's start with the mechanism of action of each class, each subclass, so that we are able to understand better. Okay, because more mechanism of action also asked. Okay, and so let me erase this. Okay, alright, so now we'll start with mechanism of action, MOA. Okay, this is a short form which I made. Okay, mechanism of action. First we'll start with the loop or high ceiling diuretics. Okay, loop or high ceiling diuretics. So if we talk about loop or high ceiling diuretics, then first of all we should define what are these, then we understand why these are called loop or high ceiling diuretics, by the way. Okay, first we will define these drugs. So loop or high ceiling diuretics, these are drugs or diuretics which act on sodium potassium 2-chloride symporter pump and increases the volume of urine produced. Okay, so this is the definition of loops or high ceiling diuretic, that is the drugs which act on sodium potassium 2-chloride symporter pump and increases the volume of urine produced. Alright, okay, so now why is this drug called loop and why is this called high ceiling diuretic? It is called loop diuretic because of the fact that it is called called loop diuretics because it acts on sodium potassium 2 chloride importer pump, and this sodium potassium 2 chloride importer pump is found in loop of Henle. Okay, we'll understand in which segment, ascending or descending, wherever that this is found, when we'll study its mechanism of action. Right now only, of course. So that is the thing. These are called loop diuretics because these act on sodium potassium 2 chloride importer pump, which is found in loop of Henle. Okay, so now the question may arise, why are they called high ceiling diuretics? Okay, so we understand this as well. High ceiling diuretics. So ceiling means, in pharmacology, ceiling means anything it is the highest dose possible without any adverse effect of a particular drug. So loop diuretic is also a high ceiling diuretic because it gives freedom to the doctors to prescribe these drugs to their maximum possible dose into a particular animal or patient to get the desired pharmacological effect. Okay, that is to increase the urine produced, the volume of urine produced to a desirable value. Okay, alright, so now we'll discuss its mechanism of action. Let me again erase this and then we will start. Alright, so now we'll start with the mechanism of action. So loop of high ceiling diuretics. So what happens is this. Let me draw a diagram. Okay, so this is a diagram of nephron which I am drawing. Okay, so this is a diagram of a nephron and one portion is in, that is glomerulus. Alright, so this is glomerulus, moving capsule, PCT, descending loop of Henle, ascending loop of Henle, DCT, and collecting duct, CD. Okay, so what will happen here, the blood will be filtered here at glomerulus, it will pass through the Bowman's capsule to the PCT. Now the function of PCT, as you know, is that it is responsible for the absorption of all the important nutrients, that is protein, glucose, amino acids, so all of that stuff are reabsorbed here in PCT. Now this filter will move to descending loop of Henle, then it will move to ascending loop of Henle. And right here in this ascending loop of Henle, there is a pump present which is called this. This is a pump. Okay, and this pump is called sodium potassium 2 chloride importer pump. Okay, so this is called sodium chloride 2 potassium importer pump. Alright, so the function of this importer pump is to transport NaCl from here, from the lumen of nephron into the interstitial fluid, to transport this NaCl from lumen of nephron to interstitial fluid, so that NaCl can be reabsorbed back into the blood. Okay, so what will happen when these loop or high ceiling diuretics are administered, what they will do is they will block this pump. Okay, so this pump will be blocked, okay, by these drugs, loop or high ceiling diuretics. So NaCl will not be able to get transferred from loop of Henle lumen to interstitial fluid. So this will lead to the accumulation of NaCl into this part. Okay, now this NaCl will move here to DCT, and from DCT excessive water will enter the lumen of DCT, because as we know, in order to maintain osmolarity, the body will try to transport the water where there is excessive salt, just to maintain osmolarity. Okay, so from here excessive water will be accumulated, will be transported into the lumen of nephron, and from here more and more urine will be produced. So the result is more urine produced. Okay, so one question which may arise there is, why does not, since NaCl was started to get concentrated in the lumen of nephron right here in the ascending limb of loop of Henle, so why did water does not enter here? Water should have entered here only, then it should have passed both and all of that stuff. So it is because this ascending limb of loop of Henle is impermeable to water. Okay, alright, so this was about high ceiling or loop diuretics. Similar is the mechanism of action of mercurial diuretics. Okay, because these are a part of high efficacy diuretics. Okay, so now we'll start with the mechanism of action, second type of diuretics. Okay, and these are called thiazides, or we can say thiazides simple. Okay, all right. So let's start with the mechanism of action of thiazides, and we'll discuss it slowly again, just like we discussed this. Okay, so what happens here is, again we'll draw nephron. So this, like this, we'll draw it. Okay, so like this, it will do something like this. This diagram will look something like this, of course. Okay. Okay. So here is the glomerulus. All right. So what happens in this membrane of DCT? Okay. In this membrane of DCT, what happens is there is a specific channel present that is called sodium chloride co-transporter. Okay. So in this membrane, not like this exactly. Okay. So it is something like this. Yes. Now it is correct. Okay. Let me just erase this as well. Yeah. Now it is correct. 100% correct. Okay. So in the membrane of DCT, this is called DCT. Okay. In the membrane of DCT, what happens? There is a pump present or channel present, which is called sodium chloride co-transporter. Okay, which is called sodium chloride co-transporter, and this is found in the membrane of DCT. Now the function of this co-transporter is very simple. Its function is to transport NaCl from here into here, from the lumen of DCT into interstitial fluid. Again, when thiazides, for example polythiazide, chlorothiazide and hydrochlorothiazide, these drugs will be administered, what will happen is this pump will be blocked, this channel will be blocked, and there will be no transport of NaCl from here to here. From lumen of nephron to interstitial fluid, there will be no transport of NaCl. So what will happen is, this has been blocked. So what will happen is, water will be entering, just to maintain osmolarity, water will be entering. Okay, and there will be increase in the volume of urine produced. Okay, this is a simple mechanism of action of thiazides. Alright, now let's move ahead with another class, that are osmotic diuretics. Okay, so third we'll start with osmotic diuretics. Okay, we'll start with osmotic diuretics. Let me just quickly go through my notes once, so that I'm able to explain it better, because I forgot. But I'm not. Okay. Alright. Now, with my notes open, let me explain. Alright. So again, I will draw an nephron. I don't know why am I rubbing it again and again. So I will draw this nephron once more. Right. So I will not draw the nephron. I will just explain it simply. What happens? Osmotic diuretics. First of all, we need to understand that there are all the parts of nephron can be divided into two categories on the basis of its permeability to water. Okay, so on the basis of water permeability. Okay, on the basis of water permeability, there are two conditions possible, or two parts of nephron. Nephron can be divided into two parts. Okay. One that is permeable to water, permeable for water, and second is impermeable. Okay, one that is permeable for water, and second is which is impermeable to water. Okay, so now what I'm trying to explain here is the parts which are permeable to water or permeable for water. These are PCT, LH, that is descending limb. Okay, and DCT, and the impermeable portion CD can also collecting that. Impermeable portion is the loop of Henle ascending limb. Okay, all right, wait a second. Yes, now it's okay. Okay, So, on the basis of water permeability, whether the portion of nephron is allowing the water to pass through it or not, we have two parts. All the parts which are permeable for water and all the parts are impermeable to water. So permeable to water, we have got PCT, DCT and descending uniform loop of Henle, and impermeable we got ascending uniform loop of Henle. Okay, so now what will happen? The function of this osmotic diuretics is to inhibit the passive reabsorption of water. So they inhibits the passive reabsorption of water. Okay, these drugs, osmotic diuretics, inhibit the passive reabsorption of water. Okay, so what is the meaning of this thing? It simply means, since these parts of nephron are permeable to water, so what will happen is water will be passively moving into from the lumen of nephron into the interstitial fluid on the basis of osmolarity and all. Okay, so what this will do is, when these drugs are administered, these will block all the channels using which the water was able to move from lumen of nephron into the interstitial fluid, and this will obviously increase the volume of water retained in the lumen of nephron and thus the volume of fluid produced or urine produced by the kidney. So that is the mechanism of action of osmotic diuretics. Alright, thank you.